Hi, hello Amanda, how are you?
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, so cool to see you. You know, technology is amazing sometimes. Like you're in Nepal, I'm in Malaysia, and we speak regularly like as if we were neighbors, right?
Yeah, we do. We do. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's really super cool. So
it is.
for people who don't know Amanda, so Amanda is originally from the UK. She has an engineering background and worked at British Airways and other travel companies for quite a while before moving into teaching. She's been in and out of Nepal for 18 years, 8 of which she has lived there. And she even married a local. So she launched an adventure tour company, which is based in Pokhara, and she's made this town a home for the last 5 years. she so I know Amanda because we've been interacting together for quite a while through a large network of women riders, and she's one of the leader and representative team members of Women Riders World Relay. So she led the relay in Nepal with fellow women riders last year in 2019. So she believes strongly, as many of us, as in women empowerment through motorcycling, and she dreams of getting more Nepalese women explore adventure travels. She's passionate about coaching them to ride and lead their own life, and she offers them job opportunities as tour guides. She also wishes to give a true picture of Nepal from a ground experience and deep understanding of the people. So I'm just going to have an informal chat with Amanda, and I'd like to ask her a few questions about her life in Nepal and what it means to ride bikes in Nepal and for her fellow Nepalese riders in particular. So I'm curious first, because you've been in Nepal for a very long time. What was the first time you visited Nepal? First, in which year, and what struck you?
I first visited Nepal in 2002, and
Mm-hmm.
I actually came here by accident. I was actually traveling through China,
Mm-hmm.
landed in Hong Kong, and I went up to Shanghai and Beijing and went into Tibet. And then I was supposed to travel through South China. Then I met a group of people in Nassau, and we decided to get a jeep over into Nepal. So
So you were on bike?
yeah, no, this was by jeep.
Okay.
This was by jeep. So I mean, at the time, it wasn't so many years after Tibet was taken back by the Chinese, or however you want to view it. There weren't any really roads there then. The terrain was very rough, extremely rough. Even by jeep, it was extremely rough. But the moment we came into the border across Nepal, it just completely changed. And you just felt what an incredible country. And that was just the journey from the border into Kathmandu. Um, so I was only here for 2 weeks because then I had to go on to Canada. But I loved it so much, I came back 6 months later. And I had 6 weeks here. And that's when I met my husband. So I was with British Airways at the time, but I'd already made the decision because I'd applied for unpaid leave because I wanted to do more travelling. If I didn't get the unpaid leave, I would resign and do the travelling I wanted. So I didn't get the leave, so I resigned. And so I just came back to Nepal to begin with because I had this relationship going. And I thought, well, if it works out, fine. And if not, I'll just continue with my travels. So it worked out, and I didn't do much more traveling at the time after that. And that's how I came to be in Nepal. So
A
I
few
fell in love
months,
with the country.
especially as you were traveling overland, and so you were coming from China.
Yeah.
What struck you most? I mean, because Nepal, I mean, from my experience, I don't know, people who go there usually they are really touched somehow. I mean, I have had my own experience, and so I was wondering, for you it was even like many years ago. So you know, the country was even more different and even less touristic. And
Yeah,
is there
very
anything
different.
that really struck you in particular and that made you feel like staying outside. Okay, the men can make a big difference, I guess, but even
Yeah.
something that struck you in comparison to other countries.
I can't explain, but I just felt very at home in this country. I mean, at the time, as you can imagine, education was mainly just for men. You didn't really see many women going on to further education. You didn't see women wearing Western clothes, and everything was a lot more traditional. And as you know, the road from Kathmandu to Pokhara, that was practically empty. There wasn't any buildings. It was all paddy fields. There was a lot more agriculture. Pokhara was extremely small. It just had one main road, and all the rest of the roads were tracks and farms and everything. It's now hotels and a huge tourist destination. There was just something about the people and the country I just fell in love with. And the other thing was that I fell in love with white rapid rafting. So I fell in love with the country, I fell in love with the rafting, and then I fell in love with the man. I got it in the right order.
Okay, fair enough. And but the rafting, you had done rafting before. You actually discovered rafting while in Nepal.
I had done it once as a teenager in North Wales. If anybody knows North Wales, there's a little place called Bala, and they have a little bit of rafting. So I'd experienced there a couple of times and had always loved it. And I mean, I knew nothing about Nepal before I came here. I knew the capital was Kathmandu, and that was about, and the Gurkhas, but that was about it. So when I saw the rafting here, I was really excited to try. And I just kept on going again and again and again on this river and that river, 1 day trip, half day trip, 5 day trip. So I wasn't really riding then at the moment. So I rode when I was a teenager, and I wasn't in a position to take up riding again until about 6 or 7 years back. It was actually when I was in Indonesia, I got back into motorbiking. I was teaching there at a local school and living in a city called Yogyakarta, and the best way to get about was motorbike. And, you know, I was saying to the teachers, oh, I want to get a motorbike and going to do this, going to do that. And they go, no, you're crazy, you can't, it's too dangerous. So I got a motorbike, then they all got motorbikes. So we could all go off on, you know, day trips down to the beach and things and get ourselves about. And we had a really good time there for 2 years. Then, as you know, there was a massive earthquake here two massive earthquakes in 2015, and that's what brought me back to Nepal. I obviously had a lot of connections here still, and my contract had just finished. And I initially came back just to volunteer for 6 months. I'd always worked closely with an NGO called the Mountain Trust, and I was focusing on rebuilding schools in the Gurkha area, because engineering background and coming from education, to me that was very important, and also to give the kids some stability, to try and get their lives back to normal as much as possible. So yeah, I did that for a while and decided to stay again, and I was back into rafting, and I was doing motorbike trips around Nepal, which was almost my passion, and kind of knew there was a lot of people out there who wanted to do motorbike trips, but they wanted to be a bit more catered for. There's so many more women in my group, and you know, they want to know where they're going and where they're staying. But at the other extreme, there's so many beautiful places in Nepal that people just don't see. And to see, you know, most of Nepal are not visited by Westerners. There's some amazing places here. We've got Jomsom, Manang, and Lumini, and out west to Bardia. But apart from those usual routes, there's not many motorbike routes going off the beaten track and going for a real adventure. So we decided to do two. So we've set up some adventure tours, routes that only we do, that we did ourselves, we reckoned ourselves. We decided to go right through the mountains, and we didn't know what was there. According to Google Maps, there were some parts we didn't even know if we could get through. Some rivers we didn't even know if we could get across. So it was a real adventure. And we went up to WRWR Lake, which is the highest freshwater lake in Nepal at just under 3,000 meters, and we went in the middle of winter as well. So we didn't know, are we going to get snowed in? Are we going to get snowed out? You know, what's going to happen? It's going to be cold. But it was the only time we had spare. So we got on our bikes and went.
That's amazing. That must have been such an amazing adventure, because last time when I did my first trip in Nepal in the mountain, it was already like, you know, in the Himalayas, and going to low mountain was quite an adventure. So I can't imagine like years ago, you know. And
Yeah.
if you were to describe like motorcycling in Nepal, if you could just share with us 3 words to describe what it is to do motorcycling in Nepal.
3 words. Oh, that's difficult. Amazing. Sometimes challenging, definitely challenging, for all sorts of reasons, as you've experienced. And exhilarating. Exhilarating, I think, is an excellent word to describe. As I said, the first time I saw there's very few roads. Some regions of Nepal, there are some excellent roads now. But the other point that I'd like to make is that the other reason why we decided to do these alternative routes was to show another side of Nepal, but actually to try and get finances into an economy that are suffering, people that need it. Low Mantang is fantastic, as you know, but their usual cycle routes, and deservedly so. But there's a whole country out there that could do with an economical uplift, and so it's to get the money into communities that really, really need it, and to help them make homestays. So sometimes, not always, you're staying with a real Nepalese family, and you're having home-cooked food, usually dal bhat or momos, and just have that whole Nepal experience, and not staying in big posh hotels where you could be anywhere in the world. Again, I'm not knocking nice big posh hotels, because I enjoy them as much as everybody, but just to give a real taster of what it's like to just go traveling, but you have the comfort of deep support, a mechanic with you, and tour guides. Because some routes in Nepal, as you know, you can so easily get lost. You know, you go one wrong mountain, you've got 3 turnings, you don't know if you're coming to a dead end.
Yeah, there are not many road signs, huh?
Yeah, not big on road signs.
I remember sometimes I would be riding, and then, you know, you keep a bit of space between each other, and 2 or 3 times, like I was riding, and suddenly I was like, you know, I had a deep fear. I was like, oh my God, am I on the right road? Did I take the right turn? And then I would be waiting, you know, hoping to see my other team members, you know, coming. And and at some point I even did a U-turn, because I was like, you know, I was afraid I took the wrong turn. So no, really, like, you definitely need a guide for sure. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, and that's the whole purpose as well of FreeW trips, and the one that we were supposed to do in April, and unfortunately that had to be cancelled due to COVID. But I'm really hoping that we do it again, that we're going to do it next year, sorry. And and I agree with you, like going off the beaten track and meeting actually the family, that has such a huge impact, because the revenue that you make, you get an amazing experience because you live the local life, and at the same time the money that you give them or that contribute to their living is going to last for ages, so the impact is huge.
Yeah, it is.
And tell me, as a foreigner, so I'm curious, because I've been, you know, I'm French and I've been living in a foreign country, in Malaysia, for 5 years as well. So I'm wondering, you as a British woman in Nepal, and as a British woman in Nepal who on top of that ride a motorcycle, what are the top 3, or what are the questions that you get asked most often by the Nepalese people? What are they curious about, or what surprises them, or what questions do you get?
I don't, because as you know, Nepalese people can be quite shy, and they don't necessarily ask direct questions. I get a lot of them, not so much around lakeside, but if I go out and I'm on my Enfield going around the mountain and I take off my helmet and say, oh, there's a woman riding, I get a lot of looks and like they're surprised and I go, yeah, namaste, how you doing? And we start off a conversation. And I think more of a surprise is because of my age, because I'm a lot more mature than most people. And I think, oh my God, you know, Nepalese women your age just don't ride motorbikes. Not many Nepalese women do. But I think because I'm a Westerner, they accept it more because they know things are different in our country.
And can you speak a bit Nepalese? Can you speak a bit Nepalese?
A tiny bit.
Tiny
I can
bit.
get by and I understand, but yeah, I'm really bad with languages. But I manage to get myself, when I have to use it, I do, and I can manage to get by with sign language, and you just do.
Okay, okay.
But
yeah, so since you're Westerner, they are a bit less surprised. They're more surprised by the fact that you're a more mature woman than the fact that you're just a woman.
Absolutely. But from the biking communities in Nepal, I've had nothing but support. I think they're totally amazing. And like when I talk about doing like women's groups, getting them riding, they are so supportive. They would actually love to see more women riders and a lot more women going to a lot of events. In Kathmandu, there's a fair few women riders now. But what they don't do is they don't go away overnight. They don't go on tour. They wouldn't say, come on, girls, let's go away for the night or something. They don't really go much outside the valley and things like that. Partly that some don't want to, obviously, and they don't like the idea of doing that. But it's a lot to do with the families and the culture. Like the guys or the boys, they expect it. But from the girls, they're thinking, well, you're a girl and you might not be able to cope with it. What if you have an accident? So they're much more careful with girls. So they have to get their family's permission or husband's permission to actually go away. But the culture is changing very rapidly, and I'm sure you've seen it, and I've definitely seen it from when I first came in 2002 to now. It's rapidly changing. I teach IELTS, which is an exam they need to study in English-speaking university. Now, if I'd done that 10 years ago, I'd have virtually had maybe one or two girls in my class, if I was lucky. Now, sometimes I have all girls in the class, and their families are really supportive of their education and traveling and doing a lot more adventurous stuff. Adventure tourism for women has really taken off. We've got a lot of women trekkers now, and we've even got women rafting guides and kayakers. And we've actually got our first women WIMA club here, international.
Yeah,
so
that's
I'm
what I was
really...
going to say when you were saying about the change. I was going to say, yeah, it's true. Like there is now the Women International Motorcycle Association. There is a Nepal chapter, which has started very recently, which is kind of amazing. And so I understand like the limitations so far. And I've seen it as well, because you remember when I was looking for some local tour guides on motorcycle to find some women who could be the tour guides, I really struggled, right? So also from your experience, and you see this change coming, what are, in your opinion, the key factors that are allowing this change to happen, or what should happen for more women to not only ride but potentially make a living out of riding or whatever? Like, do you see any factors or things that could be replicated or that could boost?
I think it's changing people's opinions, and especially those of their family, because they're much more guarded with their girls. And it's not necessarily in a way to keep them down, but like, you know, if a Nepalese girl went into a family and say, hey, mum and dad, I want to be a Royal Enfield tour guide around Nepal. You know, I can imagine the look on their faces. But on the whole, I think because their parents' generation went through a lot of struggles, and they went through all the Maoist insurgencies and all these troubles, they're a lot more open. And in the cities, I think out in the countryside, it's still very patriarchal, and women should be in the home and do women's stuff, and the men do men's stuff. But out west, I was really surprised when we went out west. I can't remember the name of the place, but we found this woman motorbiker, and her husband was very supportive. She actually worked for a bank, helping communities, and she used to go out riding from community to community to give them assessments and to give them help for all these women's skills groups. So that was really encouraging. And I think just given time and opportunity, as you said to begin with, I want to teach so many more Nepalese women to ride, and obviously we haven't been able to because of COVID. But I've met so many women recently during lockdown that actually said, hey, I really want to learn to ride, of all ages, which I think is fabulous. A lot of women, as you know, ride scooties. So for balance and things, going onto a motorbike isn't a big leap. So we've got the training bikes we've got are quite small, because I think a block that women have here, I would never be able to ride an Enfield, I'd never be, because they're too heavy, and what if I drop it, and etc., etc. And when I point out, do you think most men could pick their bikes up if they dropped them? And then it made them think. And then when I said, you ride a bicycle, yeah, you ride a scooty, so you know how to balance, yes? I said, that's half your battle. You just have to use a few gears and think, oh, okay. So I think it's their perception of what motorbiking's is all about, and that they actually do have the skills and the ability to ride. Recently, I've seen a lot more women riding cars here, which is great. Sorry, driving cars here, which you never ever used to see before. I think a lot of them were learned in the West and have come back to live here with their husbands and carried on driving. So even that in itself is really, really encouraging. So apart from teaching women to ride, as part of our tour groups, we want to encourage women to take tours. And we want to arrange like some scholarships, apprenticeships, that they can train on the job and have a little bit of an income. They can train as mechanics, they can train as tour guides, but to get them out there on the roads and to learn the routes. So we've got a few candidates who are interested, but as I said, everything's just been pushed back because of COVID, so maybe next year we'll get started.
But as you said, things take time, and that like from what you're saying, there are really three main factors that will help. There is the mentality change, the society, and having the peer and family acceptance, and this takes time. And then there is giving opportunities to women, and that's what you're going to do, what I'm going to do, to give them opportunities to learn and to make a living and this. And then I would say sometimes even maybe the most important one that you mentioned is their own capabilities and self-confidence, because as you rightly said, a lot of women fear because they think that riding a bike is complicated, or that it's dangerous, or that they cannot do it. Sometimes it's our self-limiting beliefs, right? And as you say, maybe if they ask or even in the family, maybe if they ask in their family, the family will be supportive. But sometimes they have their own, self-limited, no, I cannot ask, or I cannot do,
Yeah.
And this, as you said, is going to take time. And COVID or no COVID, that's something that we can work on, because giving those opportunities and giving self-confidence to those women, that will push the society acceptance, right?
Absolutely. So, this is one reason why WRWR is so important that started here. I can't remember her name right now, but we've had quite a few chats, and so after COVID we'll get together and hopefully do some more things. And there's also another very inspiring young lady called Marina. She was one of the ambassadors for WRWR, as you mentioned before. She's been a force of nature where women are concerned on motorbikes. And she started up a women's group a number of years ago. And I've managed to meet a lot of them. Some of them started on scooties, and now some of them have got KTMs, and some of them have got Enfields. And she did a lot of riding in Europe. She studied in Germany for 3 years. So she's been able to transfer all those skills and encourage more and more women riders. So I would love it. I have this vision, and I'm sure you'll share it as well, that one day we'll have a complete motorbike rally for women. Yeah, men are included. I don't believe in excluding anybody, but it is going to be made for women. Now, I know in India, they almost had one until COVID struck, because we're all going to go to it. I think it was in April time, it was around Easter time. And of course it was cancelled. But I'm sure that will go ahead. And that would have been the very first one in India. I mean, motorbiking for women in India is phenomenal now. There's a lot of strong women and they've got their family supports. And there's some girls who just go touring around India on the motorbikes. I was chatting to one early this morning, and she's got a KTM. And she's modified it slightly, so it's very good for off-road and on-road, which is really needed for Asia, and I'm sure it's the same in Malaysia as well. So it's really, really inspiring knowing that all these young women are coming up and wanting to do motorcycling. But apart from that, I have to mention this to you. There is one lady, and I think she's about 65, and she lives in Kathmandu, and she rides a Royal Enfield, and she has done for decades. So, and she inspires a lot of young women to ride as well. So hopefully, again, after COVID's done and dusted, that, you know, we can meet up and organise some future events for women.
Yeah, that would be great. And I think that's actually a fourth factor to encourage more women as well. It's inspiration and models and seeing other women. And yeah, I totally agree with you. Like in Malaysia, and in Malaysia it's the same. I'm organizing an event soon, and there's a woman who started riding only 3 years ago, and she's soon turning 60, you know. So
Yeah.
anyone can, you know, it's just a question of passion.
Absolutely.
It's having the passion, you know. And
Yeah.
it's true, in India it's huge also because the numbers are much bigger, much larger, right? So I was talking with Jai a few days ago, you know, my partner from India, who's organizing our FreeW trip in India, probably, so hopefully in October next year during the Bakutama festival. So it's a woman-focused festival in India. So we want to have a bike ride around Hyderabad and visit the different women communities. So I had a chat with her as well, and it's true that they can also be very inspiring for the Nepalese community.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
And so I think, as you rightly said, like we have a vision, and all women riders who want to encourage fellow women to take part in these sisterhood communities. That's the vision. Now, if we think about the next 3 to 6 months, like, do you have any specific plans? What are, like, you know, we know that we're going to meet and travel together next year, but, you know, what's going on for the next few months? For 2020, what are your top 3 priorities, or are there any projects that you can share with us?
It's so difficult to say. Things change here daily. I thought by now I'd be back in the UK. I planned to go back in May, but that hasn't happened for COVID. So I'm not sure what's happening now. One thing that has happened, which I really think is worth a mention, is that I was asked to write a chapter in a women's motorbike book. Michelle Lamper, I don't know if you know her or heard about
her.
Yes,
yes, of course. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, she's putting a book together for motorbike women, and she's asked me to write a chapter. But I think what's more important about the book, all the process goes to women projects. It's a non-profit book, and it might not necessarily be motorbiking projects, but it's for women's projects for right around the world. So I have a deadline in a couple of weeks, actually. So I better get it finished. But
so
I think
that will be you working on the inspiration leg, on the inspiration part, basically contributing to this book.
Yes. I'm really honoured that she asked me. I was really blown away, and I was quite surprised, actually. But she's a lovely lady, and she's very inspirational herself, as you know. She's been all around the world on a motorbike and still out there doing it. And I had the pleasure of meeting her for the WRWR final in London. She was there. She was originally one of the admins for last year. So we'd been chatting via the internet anyway. So it was really good to catch up with the whole of the admin team. All of them are very inspiring women, and the new admin team are just as inspiring. And there's a lot going on in the background ready for next year, and all sorts coming out. Of course, everything's been put on hold again because of COVID. There will be another WRWR relay, probably I would think in 2023. COVID's put it down a year back. By then, we expect to have more countries. It'll be slightly different routes, including more countries, and we'll just see what happens, really.
Great, looking forward. So, are there anything we can wish you? Outside health and riding bikes.
That's it, really. Yeah. I'm always wishing for more motorbikes. I can't have too many motorbikes. So, you know, I have a list of motorbikes that I want, all for completely different reasons. So it's not a matter of getting a new one, get rid of the old one. It's
Yeah, I feel you, you know, I'm a Harley passionate, but now that I've tried road and I'm doing motocross, and I'm like, but I would like to have this other model and this other model, you know, because they have different usage, and, you know, yeah, I feel you.
I've had, since I've been in Nepal this time, I've had this old Yamaha Crux. It's just a little 100, which is perfect for whizzing around the streets here. So recently I've modified that slightly, which we're technically not allowed to do in Nepal, but I have, to a little cafe racer. So she looks really, I haven't quite finished it because it wasn't
you need to share pictures. I haven't seen this one.
Well, the thing is, it wasn't completed when COVID hit, so I haven't had it quite finished yet. So once it's finished, I will put it all over Facebook and the internet and everything. But it's looking good. I am riding it, but I just want it perfect.
And so you're doing it yourself, or you're getting some friends to help out on? Or you're doing it all
friends to help out, yeah. I mean, I can do like repair works to my bike, and I'm always, you know, eager to learn more about bike maintenance and everything. But we had to change the shape of the tank slightly, and I had a new flat, shorter seat put on it. So things like this, the accessories. And it was more a question of taking things off the bike than putting things on the bike to make it that sparse look. So it makes it lighter and everything. So it was minimalizing everything rather than fixing anything. So I thought, well, on this project,
it's stripping them down, and then I would have my father laugh at me when I don't know where to put my stuff, you know, because I trimmed it down so much that then, you know, I can just travel with a tiny backpack and I cannot attach anything on my bike, and, and then I would get some, you know, mocking comments. But anyway, well, so again, I mean, I'm fairly sure and very positive and optimistic. I mean, personally, I already have my flight ticket to Nepal anyway, so I'll have to use it anyhow. But to have this motorcycle tour for women in Nepal next year. So I'm really looking forward to that. But yes, until then, so much to do and so many women to encourage and inspire. And please let us know when you have when you are able to start giving some classes, when there are some opportunities, because I mean, we'd always be happy to relay that, of course. And I'm really excited about this WIMA Nepal organization too. I think that's a really big milestone. So all the best for that. And big kisses to the dogs. I heard them. And
them in the background. They've been quite good, actually. They're still puppies, so they're quite excitable.
They've been quite nice.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking forward to when you come over and we can actually do some ride outs together. That would be awesome.
I can't wait.
Hopefully we can get some other local girls to join us. And yeah, so just watch this space, and we'll see what we can do here.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for your time. It was great chatting with you as usual. And yeah, I'll speak to you again soon.
Okay,
See
take
ya.
care.